79 is mighty fine. We're the best, second to none. We're the class of 81. Coming through in 82. Proud are we, the class of 83. And my favorite from my high school era, we are sexy, we are shady, we're the class of 1980. No one can top that one. Different classes have their reputations and their slogans. Spoke with my mother some time back about her high school, Wadesboro High, and her class was quite well behaved. But the class of 63, now, that was something else. They liked to push the envelope every chance that they got. My class in high school had the distinction of being the only class ever kicked out of the opening assembly. It was our junior year, and my high school, you have the opening time, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And that's a big step. As you over your years, you track where you sat at that place. And it's also how we sat for pep rallies. And it was, again, opening day, junior year, class of 81, I think they put us up to it. But anyway, because they were a really rowdy bunch. But anyway, we were just talking too much, and Mr. Boston kind of had it, so he just said, "Juniors, leave," and kicked us out, and we walked on to our home rooms. That was kind of one of our distinctions. Different eras, groups are known. The class of 1915 at West Point is known as the class the stars fell on. 36% of those graduates achieved the rank of general, all the way from 1-star to 5-star. That was the class that served during the Second World War. Before that, the title of the class the stars fell on fell to the class of 1886. 32% achieved general status, and that was the class affected by World War I. Subgroups are known for something: a first-wave baby boomer, a second-wave baby boomer, distinctive animals within that generation. My grandparents were part of the GI generation, but part of a subgroup called the interbellum cohort, because they were too young to serve in World War I and too old to serve in World War II. As the 30-somethings, they were hustling and trying to keep everything going, while the 20-somethings were at war. Classes are defined by their eras, by their years, by landmark events. One of my grandmothers was class of 1930 and graduated that year with a degree in piano performance. 1930, great year for the job market. That summer she went to summer school, took the classes, got certified to teach, and in July was teaching school. It was a rural district that had a split term. They took a break for the harvest, so they started early, took a 6 weeks break, and then back to school. For the class of 2020, who some of you all will be watching this on YouTube, for the class of 2020, you all will always be known as the Corona class. I mean, think about it. Whenever you have class reunions and you wonder what kind of decorating theme do we need, you don't have to think. Just bring toilet paper and masks. I mean, I've even got this image. It's 2070, and the class of 2020 is going to its 50th high school reunion, and they're all excited. And these grandchildren are saying, "Why are my grandparents so excited to go buy some toilet paper and to bring to this party? Why do they think this is so funny?" And I do hope they are laughing when they have their 50th high school reunion. The class of 2020 will always be known as the Corona class. And this message is for them as much as it is for us. Today is not exactly how I imagined it would be speaking to this class. But of course, pretty much everything since the Ides of March 15th, has not been like I expected that it would be. What I want to share with the class of 2020 are two stories of two young people with challenges before them. Esther has this God-given opportunity to pursue, and she will need courage. Timothy is given a series of charges and instructions and called to map his life well where he is serving. His message is one for character, challenge, and calling. Courage, calling, character, challenge. I will summarize here, but I told you Esther's story in the children's message. She's the orphaned young girl, has a guardian in Mordecai, and has the opportunity to become queen, chief girlfriend to the king after Queen Vashti is removed. She does not reveal that she is Jewish. She is there in the royal household for a season, and then there's this bad guy, Haman, who wants to whip up and wipe out the Jews. And Mordecai goes to speak to her, and she says, look, you don't go to see the king unless you're invited. And if you do, you risk the death penalty unless he's in a good mood and extends to you the golden scepter of forgiveness. And Mordecai says, deliverance will come. Do not think that you will escape. Maybe you have attained royalty for such a time as this. And he calls her to courage. And he says, this is it. This is the thing that you need to fulfill. This is your opportunity. For the class of 2020, I think about the opportunities in front of them now to seize. One of the first sermons that I remember, if not the first, but I can remember from childhood, was from Esther, and the minister spoke about opportunity, and he described this Greek statue to opportunity. Now, I don't know if it really existed or if he made it up, but it stood out in my mind. And he said, envisioned someone on tippy toes with wings on the heels so that it comes, and then it's gone. And then on the head, on the front end, it's full of hair. I mean, just think of a big hairdo. Easy to grab. But on the back side, it's bald because once it passes, it is gone. That was the opportunity. Esther had a date with destiny, and she had the courage, found the courage after prayer to pursue it. The class of 2020 has its own date with destiny. And my prayer is for them to take the courage, to have the courage to seize it. If the class of 2020 had a patron, I think it would be Esther, because she is thrust into something she never expected. Never expected to be in the position in the royal household. Never expected to be the one to deliver her people. The class of 2020 has been thrust into a situation they never expected. No one expected. Timothy, on the other hand, he is how it should have been for the class of 2020. He had followed Paul, was like a son to Paul, and then he was placed in charge of the church in Ephesus. In Ephesus, in that situation, there was a group of churches meeting in houses, and so Timothy, I guess primarily would be the elders of each house church, and each week worship a couple of them during the week. And so in these letters to him from Paul, he is given instruction, lots of information there, how to handle situations. In our particular section, he is told to pursue, to fight, and to take hold. These are calls for character, calling, and challenge. He is called to pursue virtues like righteousness, giving to God and one's fellow human what is due. A call to godliness, a call to faith. In this context in particular, means fidelity, faithfulness. One who is loyal through all the ups and downs. A call to love and a call to endurance. Earlier translations rendered the word as patience because hupomone is a difficult word to get the exact connection in English. For years it was rendered patience, and this commentary reflects that when it said that this word means victorious endurance, solid constancy under trial. Hupomone does not so much accept the experiences of life as it conquers those experiences. And that is the virtue needed for the class of 2020. From there, that section, Timothy is called to fight the good fight, accept the challenge that is in front of you. And it would be a challenge for him serving the church in Ephesus. It's the fourth city of the empire. It is a port city. And in that city is one of the great seven wonders of the ancient world, the temple to Diana, to Artemis. And there was a great bit of tourist trade. And in that day, even then, they had tacky tourist souvenirs. Come to my shop and you can buy your own little statue of Diana. Or you can buy your own replica of the temple. And in that context, he was called to serve. It was a challenge. Paul says it's worth it. Go for it. And he said to him to take hold, look forward, look ahead to your calling, your future hope. And this Timothy is called to look to self, to look around him, and to look ahead. Character, challenge, calling. Each one in the class of 2020 has a calling, and it will be a challenge to fulfill. And your character matters. Pray that it will be developed by the Holy Spirit as you go forward. Now, how do these words 2020 matter to us gathered here? After all, my high school reunion was a few years out, and it's quite up there in numbers now. And actually, at this service in particular, there are no seniors. At early service, expect them at the later service. And some, again, may be watching on YouTube. But this is a message for us as well. We live in a most interesting time. For what particular purpose or purposes are we called? My perspective is that for such a time as this, we are here loving, living, and serving in this community. The session met this past Wednesday along with the Board of Deacons and just began conversation. There's a lot to be talked about. Nothing is settled, so I'm not going to mention anything. It's not settled. But it's an awareness that the fall is going to be very different. It's not like we expected. Not sure what exactly we will and will not do, and how we will do what we do in the fall. Jesus does not call the equipped as much as Jesus equips the called. And our prayer is that he will equip us for the task ahead. Esther had the opportunity for such a time as this, and her prayer for her was for courage. Timothy, of all that he is in his section, I think of that virtue of hupomone. Does not so much accept the experiences of life as it conquers those experiences. Jesus calls the class of 2020, and Jesus calls us to respond. Look through that process in June as we went slowly through the book of Ruth. Again, that was our theme as we prayed through the Independence Day service. It's been an interesting 6 weeks since we've been back together. Next week, the class of 2020 will be leading worship here. And then I will be away, and Reverend Craig Krieger will be in the pulpit. When I come back, we will be into August, and really a time to look forward and ahead in whatever way it takes. For such a call, and Jesus will equip us to respond. Jesus has called us with courage and character and challenge. And He will equip us for such a time as this, as we go forward into this year. Thanks be to God. Amen. Let us please now stand and say we believe in the words of